Well, welcome to this Dark Eldar video. We're going to be looking at the whole army. It's finally finished after months of work, and what I'm going to do is you've seen units coming up on the showcase videos gradually as they've been finished, but now I've pulled the whole army together. And before I use it in any games, I'm going to run through each of the units, talk a bit about tactics, show you the figures and show you the whole army so you can see it together, then talk a bit about the philosophy behind it, why I've chosen what units and what the plan is, the overall plan. And Tactica for the army, and then in future games you'll be able to see how that is applied and to see if it actually works. So I'm going to run through each of the units, we'll look at the codex as we go along, and then you can see this army, see what you think of it, and then we'll speculate as to whether the plan will work. It's an army really with a general plan behind it, a tactic that I think may work quite well, but we won't know until it's applied in game. So we'll just talk about the theme of the army, the colour scheme of the army. Just taking the Dark Eldar Codex really is where I started, and just the artwork on the front of that was the inspiration. The kind of ghostly metallic armour there with different shades of blues and greens in it. I wanted to apply that to the army that I painted to create kind of an ancient, eerie, dark sort of effect with them, to make them different to my Eldar force, which is very bright and colourful. I wanted these to have a uniform, sinister look about them. And then just looking at the colour scheme, it was quite plain looking, so I wanted to introduce a few other colours, and so I applied the technique, and you can check that out, how to paint the Dark Eldar. If you like the way that this army's been painted, then check out the full painting tutorial I do. I show you how to paint one of the Dark Eldar warriors, and I show you the exact technique for getting to these results, and you can apply this technique, especially for the armour and so on, to all of the Dark Eldar units and vehicles. So if you want to copy the style of the army, check out that painting tutorial. If you want to see how each of these units looks, then check out the showcase videos. You can look at each unit in detail, and I'll put it on the turntable and you can see it 360-degree views. So if you're painting, for painting reference, you'll be able to see exactly how each unit has been done. Every unit's been put on a showcase now on the channel. So it's just the inspiration really was the front cover of the codex. Lovely colour scheme. So that's what I applied, and that's the colour scheme that's come out. Best advice I can give about building an army, because Games Workshop isn't a cheap hobby, Warhammer 40,000 isn't cheap, so what I advise is just buy the codex to start off with, and then I would say just read it through, choose the units that you really want and the force ones that you definitely want, and then paint those. I mean, I aim for not a win at all costs force, but just a nice balanced army, one that I can look at and it looks nice. So really the units that I'm going to show you are units that I actually really like from the codex, then I try and adapt them and configure them so that they actually perform well in games as well. So really I build up a list. I just go through lots of different lists here, just gradually build it up, work on points, trying to build it to different points, 1850 points, 1750, and then I often draw out a template of how I think the army will look, so I've got an idea of how it will look set up before I've even bought the figures. There's flyers there, circles are for units, there's figures there, jetpacks and so on, and that gives me an idea in my mind of what the army would look like, and if it looks unbalanced then I can change things around. Then I'd then advise you just buy the first few units that you really like, make sure you paint them up and finish them, and then again thinking about it, what units you want next, what your army might lack. Maybe you want some heavy firepower or some heavy infantry or something fast, then gradually build your army up from there. And that's what I've done with the Dark Eldar, and really I haven't got any spare units. Everything in my force is what I'm happy with, and there's nothing spare kicking around, so that will save you money, and it's better than going out and buying a whole big spread of stuff and then not using half of it. So what we'll do now is we'll look at each of the units included in the force. It's 1850 points I've gone for, and we'll look at each of the units, we'll go through why I've taken them, what their strengths, capabilities are. It's a bit of Tactica in here, so you'll be able to see why I've chosen units. And then we'll look at the whole army. You can see it all together, how the force looks, and then we'll talk about the overall army plan, what the Tactica is for the whole force, what I'm trying to aim to do. And there is a strong Tactica in this game, you'll see what I mean as we go along. So we'll start with HQ. One of the strengths in Dark Eldar Armies, I think, is the Archons. They're a good figure, they're cheap in points, and you can give them some nasty upgrades. So what I've gone for is 2 Archons. First one, Army Commander, this one here, and then sort of a second in command will be this guy. So in my opinion, I thought that the other HQ units are quite expensive in points, and Dark Eldar aren't the toughest of figures, so I wanted a cheap HQ that was quite effective, but if he dies it's not so much of a problem. So I took 8 Archon, which is 60 points, and then given which I think is one of the best weapons is the Agonizer, 20 points. They've each got one of those. So they've got Agonizers there, so they can take on monstrous great, anything of any toughness they can now fight against. And then some people take Ghost Plate Armor, which is a good idea. I haven't got the points for it, so I've kept him as he is. And then I've given them the Shadow Field. With the Shadow Field, it'll grant him a 2+ invuln save until he fails that save, and then that save's taken away, but that makes the unit really, really good. And that is 30 points. So all I did was take the Archon at 60 points, give him the Agonizer, and then the Shadow Field, making 110 points. And then giving away a bit of the philosophy here, one on his own, and the other one is going to carry a webway portal. So that's 35 points. He carries that. With the webway portal, he can't fire it from a vehicle, he has to get out, and that portal is activated. I couldn't get the Dark Eldar one, so I've got a Warhammer one here, but this one will do for games. So there's my webway portal when it's activated. It's a bit bigger, so what James and I have decided to do is when we move out from it, from reserve, we'll just deduct 1 inch of our movement. So if they can move out 6, then we'll measure 5 from the edge there, and that keeps it fair. So that's the webway portal that we use, and then out from there will come my infantry reserves. That's the plan with these Dark Eldar. I've seen the webway portal used before, and it looks good fun, and it's quite effective because, as I said, Dark Eldar aren't the toughest of armies, so you want to close the gap between yourself and the opponent as quick as you can. And then webway portal, if that gets you an extra 12 inches or more up the table, then that's all good. That's the 2 HQs, and then to protect them, to give them a bodyguard, this guy with the webway portal, I want him to get ahead and be able to activate that. So he's going to go inside of Venom, and the figure balances just nicely on the back. You see that? I think that looks really nice. So there's the main army commander. He'll come on later in the game, and then this guy will deploy in the game as far up as he can, get ahead, and then deploy that webway portal. That's his job. And then join the units coming on from reserve as the game goes on. So there he is, and it looks quite nice on there, and it carries 5. So to protect him, he will be with, going into elites now, he'll be protected by 4 Dark Eldar Incubi. So you're on heavy infantry now. So he's got a bodyguard protection, and then you've got him in the middle. Now, I think this is how the rules work. I encourage you to check the comments in this video. People who are sharp on the rules, they'll let me know if I make a mistake, and you'll be able to see what's correct. But if I'm right, you can deploy them like this. If you want to keep these guys alive, you can deploy them like this. Shots can come in, and he will take them on a 2+ invuln. You're just trying to protect this unit. So if you've got multiple hits coming in, he's expendable. You know, it's not too many points. This is one tactic that I may use in games. Shots come in, he's on 2+ all the time, and if it's ever at any point he fails one, then an independent character like him will get a 2+. Look out, sir. So if the worst happens and he fails that 2+, then if you want to, he can take the 2+. Look out, sir. So you'll keep him alive, but it's shot reduction. All those shots coming in, and he absorbs a whole load on that 2+. That 2+ could go on for a long time, and the whole time you're protecting your key units. If you want to do it the other way around, you want to keep him alive, then put him at the back or put him in the middle, whatever. But bodyguard protection for him will be helpful, I'm sure. And then for the main army commander, I've gone for Incubi to protect him as well. Do like the Incubi figures, they've come out nice in this pattern. He will be protected. He's going to come in on foot. He's not going to have a transport. He might come in on the webway portal that's made, and I've given him a bodyguard of 6 Incubi. So again, heavy infantry, marine killers, nice lot of attacks, good armour protection, and they'll be able to charge in, and you've got 2 units of high powered there that will be able to take on any type of heavy infantry. Good initiative value, good weapons, nice number of attacks. So that's sort of the heavy core of the force. 1 in the transport and 1 coming in on foot. So you've got the heavy core of the force. You've got heavy infantry and your HQs. It's high powered combat. So we'll talk about troops. So you've got Dark Eldar warriors. I like the figures. They're very nice indeed. But in the game, don't rate them too highly. Yeah, they've got poison weapons, that's pretty good. Rapid fire guns. But 5+ save, toughness 3, they're not particularly amazing. So I've only gone for 1 unit of warriors. And the way the points have worked out for 1850 points, I'll end up dropping this. I didn't want to, but I'm going to have to. It's 25 points plus the cost of the figure, 9 points. So he's out. So it'll be a unit of 9. And the idea is that these will be kept out of trouble. They're just designed for taking and holding objectives. They're designed just to stay out of trouble. So minimum points spent on those. No special weapons given to them. I'll transport them in a raider. Again, no upgrades. It's a handy weapon at the front, nice long range, anti-tank capability. So these guys inside here, protected throughout the game, and just sniping at vehicles at long range. Nice looking though, cheap enough. So it'll be 9 or even 8 warriors. Sometimes I'm going to perhaps drop one, just have a unit of 8. I found when I'm squeezing points in, it'll be these, the least important unit in the game, so I was deducting points from this unit. If there's 8 or 9, it doesn't really matter because they're not really going to be involved too much in the fight, and they're just designed to slink at the back, stay inside the transport vehicle and do the important work of claiming objectives. So the ones that I'm really going to try and keep out of trouble, because we wouldn't have too much confidence in this unit, but you need the troops choice, so that's why they are in. So 81 points they would be, or even 72 if I drop another one. So that's cheap enough, and then the Raider is just 60 points. So cheap troops choice, well protected, and decent enough gun on the front, so no complaints about them. And I wanted a Raider in the army, and I wanted Dark Eldar warriors, so I'm happy enough with those. Now, other units for troops are going to play a more important role in the game. I think about the best troops that you can get are the witches. I've gone for 2 units of 10. And that bulks out the force quite nicely. The unit there, and another unit there. And what I've gone for is, the idea is that these will come out of the webway portal, so they're going to get that head start in the game. They're going to push up the table, and they'll already be well ahead if they come on from reserve. So you can imagine now you've got the heavy infantry pouring out with the HQ choices. You've now got witches support 2 units of 10. The idea is to overwhelm the enemy position. So I've gone for the witches, 10 lots, 10 figures there, and then I've gone for haywire grenades for them. So it's an extra 20 points. But that gives them the capability of taking on any vehicle on the table. There's nothing that can stop them. The advantage of having 10, it's not too bad a size unit. If you lose half your figures from shooting, 5 of those with haywire grenades will still be able to do damage to vehicles. So I think that's a deadly upgrade for them, 20 points. Then upgrade to Hecatrix, 10 points is worth doing. With the Hecatrix you just get that extra attack and increases their LD to 9, which is really important because you're expecting casualties to come out as you come out of the webway portal. So each of those is upgraded to the Hecatrix, and that enables me to then give the Hecatrix an Agonizer. So that's going to be a base of 2 attacks, +1 for weapons, +1 for charging 4 attacks. That means that is an effective upgrade there. So that makes them in total 150 points each. That's cheap. You keep your unit below 200 points, it's not so bad if you lose them. So we're on 150 points each for those, and that gives you two fairly good sized troops choices. So it's more than I usually go for, but I see the benefit and strength of having them. And they do look good. They come out nice with this colour scheme with the blue hair and all of the armour plating. Right, let's get into fast attack. I've gone for taken up all 3 slots of fast attack in this game, in this army, because I want it to be a fast moving force, one that's going to try and attempt to overwhelm the enemy force. So I've got the 3 fast attack choices. I want the army to be fast, and you can't div around with Dark Eldar. I think if you do that, then you're going to be hammered. You've got to close in quick and use firepower to support your advance. So, and I'm also thinking units that I want to come out of that webway portal. Can't get vehicles to come out, it's going to be infantry based. So, first unit I've gone for is Hellions, and I've gone again for expecting casualties, so I've taken 10. Hellions on skyboards, and I think through sheer amount of hits on the enemy units, they would be able to overcome them with a high initiative. So with the Hellions, nice looking unit. I like them for how they go with the colour scheme of the force. But unit of 10, they're 16 points each. That's a base of 160 points, and just as they are, they're pretty good. So we've gone for a couple of upgrades, some key ones I think. They'll be like jump infantry, they can go 12 and then charge, they're pretty good. But I've given them the Heliarch upgrade again. It pushes their LD up to 9, which is important. A nice high LD for them, because expecting casualties again. And then an extra attack, which is handy enough. It's only 10 points, and then I have given the Phantasm grenade launcher. It gives them the ability to charge into cover using grenades. So they'll now be able to charge any target, and they'll always go first with such high initiative as 6. You know they're going to hit the opponent first, which is handy enough. Then just really giving him an agonizer for 15 points on the Heliarch there, and it's just, again, he's able to take on all different types of opponents. A power weapon at strength 3, well, it's not going to be too effective if you're fighting Marines or anything else that's tougher than that. Then if you give him the agonizer, that's always going to wound on a 4+. So that's, I think, a good upgrade to take. It just makes them more diverse when it comes to taking on different opponents. So Hellions are in. Again, 5+ save. They're going to be vulnerable to template weapons, blast weapons and so on, and they're not like jet bikes. They're not going to get a save for travelling at fast speed, so they've got to be protected. Got to hide them and slink them around a bit, but they can come out of that webway portal. They've got decent enough guns underneath as well to fire, so I think they'll do well enough if I can look after them on the table. Right, next unit in the force, and I think it's almost compulsory for any Dark Eldar army, is the unit of Reavers. Gone for 9, and they're at 22 points each, so they're expensive enough, but unit of 9, and that enables me to take 3 heat lancers. So that gives me the capability of taking on, it's like a low strength but effective enough melter gun. So the 3 of them are carrying those, 1, 2 and 3, and that'll make them good against vehicles. And they've also got that attack where they can fly over the opponent and cut down infantry as well. So I do like the Reavers. They look really nice in this colour scheme, and they were just a compulsory choice in this force. But they can fly out of that webway portal or come on from reserve and move at tremendous speed across the table. Tough enough. Again, vulnerable to template weapons, but as jet bikes they're going to get that turbo boosting cover save protection. Again, good enough guns underneath as well. So good firepower from these, and good combat and anti-tank capability from them. So I'm glad they're in the force, and really look forward to using them. Quite intimidating looking. I think they'll scare opponents enough. Now, in the force I did really want to have a Void Raven bomber, but Games Workshop haven't released the figure yet. I was thinking of doing a conversion, but I thought I'd just wait until the Void Raven comes out. So as a unit to fill in that gap for now, to add a bit of anti-tank capability to the force, I went for a unit of Scourges, and they're 22 points a model. I've gone for 5 of them, and I've just put some lead underneath there, and that just stops them from falling over. But when painting these, they were sort of the last choice for the force, but I've really enjoyed painting them I think they've come out really well. So the wings have come out nice. I think they're one of my favourite looking sets. The sculpting is really nice and the design of them. Now ghost plate armour, they're a bit tougher. What I've gone for is anti-tank. I want to be able to deep strike them and then take out an important vehicle in the game. So the upgrades I've gone for on them, we've got two just the regular guns that they come with. I've upgraded one of them to a Solarite, and that gives them again the upgrade in the morale and an extra attack. And then I've gone for, sometimes I'll give it the power weapon, either a close combat weapon or a power weapon if I can afford it in points. Just they've got a bit of close combat capability. Because the weapons they're armed with are assault, so they can fire and then charge in. They can be quite effective. Now I've given him a blast pistol, so that gives me anti-tank capability there. And then to support him, I'll have to be able to deep strike them close to an enemy unit. Gone for a heat lance as well on top of that, and then to support that as well, I've gone for a haywire blast. This is just a converted figure. The gun looks quite intimidating, but that's good enough. They could half kill a vehicle, I think, in a turn. And if they're all good enough, they could blow anything they want up if they can get close enough. So, good enough unit, happy with those. They come out really well. But the plan in the future is to replace these, perhaps, with the Void Raven bomber, because I do rate highly the Dark Eldar air support. So those are the fast attack choices for the Dark Eldar. Quite a lot of speed in the force, a lot of units that can jump around, fly around. Good firepower, so that's a good edge to the force. I'm trying to downplay the weak point, and that is the softness of the army, that you can get blown away. So you want to be able to hit back with firepower, moving quick, and then be able to hit in combat as well. So really now just moving on to heavy supports. I've gone for a Ravager, 105 points, it's cheap enough, and 3 of those Dark Lancers are effective enough against any vehicle. And for hunting monoliths, for example, stay out of range of the monolith and just pick it off from range, and this vehicle can't be beaten. Bit of extra higher armour as well, 11 points is a bit better, and just stick it in cover. 105 points, if you lose it, it's not such a big deal, but for fire support, can't complain about that. And I wanted to have another vehicle, not just a Raider on its own. So, good choice, I'm happy with that one. Got a feeling that in games sometimes it'll perform really well and sometimes it won't perform at all. The last unit for this force is a flyer. I did want 2, so I got for a Razor Wing. Pretty cheap in points. Love the way the colour schemes come out. Nice blue and green either side. I was really able to work with that on this particular figure. I want it to look intimidating. With 2 Dark Lancers on it, it's pretty good firepower. And 4 mono-sive missiles as standard. Flat 145 points. Again, cheap in points cost. So that's the flyer. A bit of air support would be handy, and I can send him in anywhere on the battlefield, so he can come on from reserve as well. So that's the force overall. 1850 points, it's big enough. Keeping the points down on some things has enabled me to fill out the force quite well, and yet still keeping some heavy unit choices here. Got 2 HQs, if one dies I've still got another. Good firepower, counting up the anti-tank. That's what I usually try and do in a force. Try and aim, you've got to get quite high on anti-tank, enough units to be able to take out vehicles. You want to get into a situation in the game where you've got no units that are able to take out enemy vehicles, and then you're stuck as their vehicles roam around destroying your stuff. So that will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units that are good enough for taking out tanks, which is excellent. You want to be able to crack open transport vehicles and destroy heavy vehicles that are going to put template weapons and blast markers all over your force. So it's important for the Dark Eldar that you've got anti-tank capability, and that's what I've got. A lot of that, half of that at least, is long range. You'll be able to pick out enemy targets from quite a distance, and the rest is sort of anti-tank, ambush anti-tank units. So the overall philosophy for the army is quite straightforward, and I want to explain it to you now so that in battle reports that come up you'll be able to see if this philosophy works and who it works against, and if it doesn't work against other armies. So the idea is, again, you're restricted as to how many reserves you can bring on. It has to be less, just under half your force. Flyers don't count, transports don't count. So some units I'm going to have to hide on the table to start off with, and the rest I want to come out of this webway portal. Now I don't want units having to come on from reserve from the table edge, which is what will happen if they arrive on turn 2 and the webway portal hasn't been opened. So it's important the webway portal is opened on turn 1. That's what I'll always try and do. So the idea is that this transport is placed as far forward as possible, hidden somewhere, with the second in command. He's the one with the webway portal. He moves forwards, him and his bodyguard get out from the vehicle, and then they activate the webway portals. They get out as far as they can, then the shooting phase, then they activate that webway portal, and then out from there will be my other units coming out. So we're going to have the fly coming on from reserve, air support, but flyers don't count, so we're on 0 still. Ravager I'll always deploy on the table, pick off units at long range. The Raider as well, probably close by to support each other, because another Dark Lance there with the infantry inside. Either hide it or use it as fire support. So that's 1, 2 on the table. And then I may deploy the Hellions on the table and the Scourges perhaps, mix it up, or even the Reavers, because they're able to move around very fast. So the Reavers can hide out somewhere, and then the key units to bring on from reserve will be either one or both of the units of Witches, and then the Incubi and the Archon. But again, I can adapt that. I mean, the Incubi and the Archon may want to sit back and help protect an objective, depending on who I'm playing against. But important ones to come on from the webway portal will be units like the Hellions especially, I think, and the Witches. The Scourges I'd like to deep strike, try and ambush an enemy vehicle or unit. So that's the idea. Activate the webway portal, and about half or so of the force to pour out of that and to attack the enemy at this position. So that's the overall philosophy and plan and tactica for this force. As to how it works out in the game, we will have to see. To be honest, it's an untested army, and I know that they're quite weak, so we'll have to see what happens. I'm not entirely confident with them, but we'll see how it plays out in games. But thanks for watching. Encourage you to check out the comments. Dark Eldar players no doubt will be commenting on this army build. They'll give you their lists and their tips and what works and what doesn't. So it's a big learning curve for everyone that's interested in this force. But nice looking army, nice style to them. As I said, check out the painting tutorial, and on there you'll be able to see how you can paint the units and apply this technique. It's funny how the colour scheme actually goes with the colour of my webway portal. But that's the old Dark Eldar force. Thanks for watching, and I hope that's explained to you how I intend to use the army. And then keep a lookout for Dark Eldar battle reports as they try and fight for victory in the 41st millennium.